Welcome to another episode of the Modern Facilities Management Podcast, brought to you by Stratum. I'm your host, Griffin Hamilton. This is the show where I interview industry experts who share their stories, strategies, and insights into modern-day facilities management. From hospitality to commercial real estate and everything in between, we'll learn what it really takes to succeed as a facilities manager.
Welcome to another episode of the Modern Facilities Management Podcast. Today, I've got Carolyn McGary joining me. Carolyn, how you doing?
I'm doing really good. Happy to be here.
Well, thanks for taking the time to join. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I know we've talked a couple times in the past, and you've got a million things going on in your day-to-day, all surrounding facilities management. So I know you're really passionate about the industry and have been looking forward to this conversation. So with that, just kick us off and tell us a little bit more about who you are, both personally and professionally.
Sure. So I'm the quintessential overachiever. It's one of the reasons I feel that my brand of the WonderWoman of Facility Management kind of fits. I fell in love with facility management in college. So I'm kind of lucky. I found a FM degree program to join and learn about. And since then, I had a variety of roles in both project management and facility management. I am currently an assistant manager for an operations and maintenance company. So we do operations and maintenance for federal government. I teach at a local university, facility management classes. I'm a co-director for a nonprofit. I volunteer for another nonprofit. I'm on like 3 advisory boards and trying to stay active in my sorority.
So is that it, or do you want to keep going, or? So the first thing you mentioned was you got lucky and you came across the facilities management program in college. Was that, how'd you find it? How'd you discover it? Was someone telling you that they were in it and it was interesting, or did you just, hey, I need to take some classes, and you fell in love with it?
I got to the end of my sophomore year in college and did not have a major yet. And so for our college, you had to declare your major by your junior year. So I was freaking out my 4th semester. I had tried a few different things. I was going to be a teacher, and I thought that was too hard. We'll get back to that later. I was going to be, I knew I didn't want to do music. I loved music, but I knew that wasn't going to make me any money. I tried a few different things. Actually, I was going to be an aerospace engineer first.
Okay.
And I didn't like calculus. Actually, I thought I was good at calculus, but it turns out I wasn't very good at calculus.
Until you actually got in the class? It's like, oh.
Yeah, until I got in the class and I got like a C. And I was like, wow, I thought I did much better than that. Maybe I shouldn't do this for a living. So I was freaking out, and I didn't know anybody taking the program. I actually spent probably a good couple of weeks in the resource center, taking little personality tests and whatnot to figure out what I might be good at. And I'd settled on architecture.
Okay.
Actually. But we didn't have an architecture degree program at CSU Pueblo. So I was looking around at what that might mean. I was like, well, Denver has some schools that have an architecture like master's program. So you can get a 4-year degree and then you can go do a master's program in architecture. I was like, all right, sure. So I looked for relative degrees and I found facility management, which looking back on it, the program lead for FM must have thought I was kind of, must have been laughing secretly at me when I said I wanted to be an architect, so I was going to do facility management. Because then my first class was facilities planning, and they made fun of architects a couple of times.
So you were sitting in the corner, it's like, oh, wow, I'm an outcast here. They're making fun of what I want to do.
Maybe architecture isn't correct. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? I'm not sure.
So you overcame that and getting poked fun at for choosing to be, or at least thinking you were going to be an architect. And then did you just fall in love after taking courses?
After a semester, I got voted in as chapter president.
Okay.
Joined IFMA. So this is like way back in 2004. Joined IFMA, went to my first conference, and I realized that I didn't really want to go into architecture after that. This was really a lot of fun.
So you getting voted in, that was the beginning of you just joining any and every organization you could find around facilities management. Because now,
and learning what it could
now you're a part of how many?
Not that I'm really a member of like lots of them, but I'm involved in several different organizations related to facility management. And I'll tell you a little fun fact. So when I was in college, so back to college, and I was applying for a facility management scholarship through the IFMA Foundation. I think they started doing scholarships back in like 97 or so. But I won the very first iteration of the Lee Forest scholarship. It's one of those endowment scholarships. And I never met Lee Forest. I heard she was a really great person. And but I got the very first one of those scholarships. And in my application for it, I swear I'm getting around to the meat of this. When I applied for the scholarship, you write a letter of intent. And my original letter of intent, I found the other day. So weird to see how my writing skills were like 18 years ago. But basically I said that I had like 2 or 3 different goals. One was to earn my CFM. One was to serve on the board of directors. And the other one was to give back by teaching for the profession. So I've hit 2 out of 3 of my goals. I didn't even remember having those goals, but apparently I said I wanted to give back by teaching. And I got my CFM like 5 years later.
Very cool.
After graduating. And the only other thing I haven't done is serve on the board of directors.
Not yet. And so going to, and speaking more about you as a professor now, and giving back and teaching. So how did you actually meet that goal? And did you just, obviously you didn't understand, or you didn't recall having those goals. Was that just something that, you recently said, I want to start teaching, and just got involved in one way, shape, or form?
A little bit, yeah. So remember when I said my freshman year of college, I took a semester of some classes to think about going into being a teacher, and I thought it was too complicated. I had to think about too many things at once.
The irony with facilities managers thinking about a million things every day. So.
Yeah, thinking of everything a facility manager has to think of every single day. I don't know what I was really thinking about, but whatever. But yeah, I was like, I don't know if I want to be a teacher. They got to think about so much stuff and pay attention to so many things. I guess I was just, low confidence or something at the time. But it was probably in the back of my mind then for a while, since I'd put it in that letter of intent. And shortly after I graduated, I was probably one of the last groups to graduate from that FM degree program. It had a low enrollment, and our chair retired and left. So they closed the program through the university. And ever since, that had been the only FM degree program in Colorado ever, right? And ever since then, it's been one of my goals, but it's also been the Denver chapter's goal to get another degree program going in Colorado. Almost all of our scholarships that we give, first priority goes to somebody local, that sort of thing. So I'd been really passionate, and I am really passionate about the future of FM. The idea that even since I was in college, we've been talking about everybody retiring out. and there not being enough
Yep.
schools to teach it formally for 4 years before they graduate and enter the workforce, and there's just not enough of them. Not enough students, not enough degree programs. So we wanted to build a degree program, and we'd been trying
Yeah.
a while. The trick that most people don't know is that colleges and universities, they run on a bit of a slower cycle than I think we're used to.
How so?
They have a bit of that, like I call it, aloha spirit,
Okay.
where things kind of move a little slower. And so it took probably from the start of our conversation for this most recent one, probably 3 to 5
Wow.
years to actually get the degree program approved at Metro State. So now we have it, but not everything is fully fleshed out. So I think we just got the last 2 classes approved, but they've never been taught.
Got it. So do you see that changing in that process, that being a more expedited process from, the thought or the identification of a school and then the actual implementation of that program?
I think it depends on the university. I think it depends on the kind of the state, what the education looks like. And then I think it depends on the local support from the chapters. So we tried putting together a program with University of Denver a few years ago, or a few years prior to that, probably 2015. And we were really, really close. But the big thing they were missing at the time, and I realize what they needed now. The big thing they were missing at the time was real chapter support. How could we provide chapter support? Because most universities, it's a chicken or egg kind of concept. They won't develop the program unless there's a bunch of students interested and willing to join the program. And those students aren't going to know about the program unless the program exists. So this is what happens. And most people, as we all know, don't even know what facility management is, right? They're like, what is that? Custodial? So it's this big question mark, right? So it's tricky to get everything started, which kind of leads us over into the nonprofits I volunteer with. Because, in addition to, the IFMA Foundation is really focused on, and I'm only a volunteer for them, I'm not an official representative, so in case I misspeak, but they're really focused on, or they have been traditionally, focused on accredited degree programs, so helping get programs accredited. And then they have been also working on helping get some of those programs started. But it's very complex and it takes a lot of work. It's a heavy lift. And our chapter really helped make this program work. A lot of interviews with different facility managers, even other ones I don't even know, have been having conversations a couple of years before I got involved. Darren was involved from our chapter. Dean Stanberry was involved from our chapter. And he and I kind of helped seal the deal and make everything work.
Do you think one of the big challenges is just standardizing what that program looks like? Because, as we know, facilities management is just such a wide variety of responsibilities. And so it is hard to pinpoint and standardize what that really looks like to get people involved.
Yes and no. I think absolutely. I think if we can standardize some of the ways having gone through the experience myself already, if we can standardize some of the ways that we approach the universities, as well as helping, say the need comes from a local chapter. They want to, Denver chapter wants to start a program, and the foundation is there. They're helping kind of makes the case for, hey, facility management is a really cool profession. The median, salary is $90,000. 4-year degree programs are awesome. They have, they handle the accreditation process, and they have all of the little, standard objectives. But for the chapter, if they don't have a bunch of, college professors, we have no idea what any of those objectives really mean. And we don't necessarily know what to do once then it gets approved. Because the first question that was asked once it was fully approved by the chair of the department was, all right, who's going to teach the first class? I was like,
and that's when you raised your hand?
Everybody's like, ooh. I'm like, all right, let's do this.
Checking off one of the goals.
I eased myself into it, I guess. Started teaching. I got qualified to teach the FMP through IFMA. So I taught some adult learners. They're usually a little nicer to you, right? They got to keep it professional.
Yep.
And then you ease yourself into college students. They're mostly having to, take care of their education themselves. So that's not so bad. It's not like jumping straight into teaching kindergartners or something.
Right. And so with that and looking at just how facilities management has evolved and continues to evolve, do you believe that, again, kind of going back to standardizing that, the curriculum, and as far as, I guess, the core competencies, is there anything in particular that you are, screaming from the rooftops, here is what absolutely has to be involved in this program?
Oh boy, that one's tricky. I think
it's all tricky.
Well, I mean, try to explain what facility management is in 30 seconds. It's a tough elevator speech. Unless you use the running joke I've heard of, this elevator wouldn't be running if it weren't for your facility manager.
That's great.
But everybody has a different approach. That's why I think it would be nice to have that skeleton of, here's the core things that we talk about. If we're focusing from the IFMA standpoint, here's what IFMA's core competencies are. So how can we touch on each of these over the course of, a couple of classes, or from that whole thing. Like I said, the accreditation side has specific learning objectives, which touch, a relatively good amount of the core competencies. But some of those you can also cover with, for example, I took 2 extra classes for my degree program and got a minor in business administration. So it was like a couple extra finance classes to have, because it's very business focused. It's hard to say what's standard, but I know where we're going with the standardization. Really, where I see the standardization is if, especially for new programs or budding programs, maybe like a little mini book of, here's what you should do. Here's how you get started. Here's what we think you should include. But if you only want to pick 5 of these 20, roll with it. You can really kind of keep going as you see fit. But to start somebody with too many options, I don't know if you've had this problem, but I have a problem, for example, picking somewhere to eat. If we're going out to eat. And I saw a trick online that was, if you have too many options, have somebody give you 2 options, and then you can pick one of the 2. Picking one of 2 is super easy. Picking one of 10, what kind of food do you want today? I don't know. So giving them at least some guidelines or some goalposts to work around would have made, I think, my lessons learned for creating my own intro program from scratch, and not using any of the standard certifications that I have was really tricky. So I'd say that I can't give specifics.
Yeah.
I think that would be, being so new myself, would be like a little focus group of what would you guys include?
Yeah.
A lot of it was business stuff. I'll say personally for me, I included a lot of business stuff. So I started my class from strategy and worked my way through leaders versus managers, communication, customer service. And then I got into things like space planning and property management, a little bit of business finance, maybe, all the way down to big concepts like innovation or using technology. What's some, give them an idea of what are some cool technologies that are out there that you could then utilize as a facility manager.
Mm-hmm.
And then innovation being a big point of, we need people who are going to think differently in this profession. We've been taught that over the last year, right?
Yep.
People who innovated thrived during COVID. People who didn't innovate probably closed their doors for good, which is very sad.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about that, and I've had several conversations here on the show of just, what, obviously the impact of COVID, it can't be ignored, but it really, to your point, did highlight who is innovating, and that's across industries. I mean, you look at restaurants and how they got creative on having outdoor seating and meeting the 6 feet social distancing requirements while also making sure that they're staying open and paying the bills there. And so across industries, that innovation is, it's needed. And for facilities management in particular, that's not just a COVID thing. That is going to be every single day. You have to get creative because you're going to come across new situations that you haven't before, and you've got to think on your feet and do it rather quickly because the whole building is counting on you.
Absolutely. And I think the face of education is starting to change, and hopefully we're going to see soon, like I said, universities move a little slower, what that impact's going to be moving forward. We're finally going back to in-person, but there are some of my classes that are going to be online still.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some students are really excited to go back to in-person because they just learn in person better. You get a little more focus on what you're doing. You're not you got your camera off and you're eating, you're doing your hair, or probably just laying in bed, with the laptop on your stomach type of thing. Yep. You're a little more focused because you probably showered before you came to class and had to drive and put real clothes on,
yep,
and that sort of thing.
Getting into
gets a little more prepared mentally.
Yep, getting into the routine.
That's going to be rough for some students. Other ones really enjoyed the flexibility of being able to work at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And at least in the case for my classes, I recorded all my sessions and posted them for them so that they could, if they missed something or they got, they were in the middle of something or missed class, they could go back and they could see what we talked about.
Yeah.
I try to keep
and we're seeing that across the board, right? Where even, in the professional setting, people have gotten accustomed to working remotely, and organizations are starting to adjust, allowing for more remote opportunity, and so it's going to be interesting, not just with students, but across the working world, having to get back into the swing of things.
Absolutely, but for some of us, it's going to be the new thing, right?
Yeah. So,
wow, I might start taking the train. That's all.
Clearly you're not here in Atlanta where you have to deal with with MARTA down here, which isn't the most efficient. Maybe we can get a facilities manager to work on the efficiency there. But so switching gears and looking at the future of education in facilities management. I know it takes a while to get these programs up and running, and obviously IFMA is doing quite a bit to speed up that process and get exposure. Expose people to facilities management. What do you see as some immediate things that could be done in the industry to address the concern that there's going to be a huge talent gap with people retiring, and we need more younger people into the industry. What do you think we could be doing right here and right now?
I think it's a combination of things, as evidenced by I'm pretty much involved in a little bit of everything right now. But I've written a couple articles on it. If you guys go look through the FMJ, look me up. I wrote a couple kind of like how-to guides about it, kind of what we've done. And then I'm going to talk at World Workplace this fall. If you guys are going to come to Florida, please do. I miss everybody. But I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. Things that have been working. What we've really found has been working actually is partnering with local workforce development. It sounds daunting to start with, but for example, in Denver, Dean actually got a hold of his local council representative, so like his local councilwoman, and said, hey, I looked at some of your platform stuff and you were interested in this overall skills gap, right? And had a quick like coffee conversation with her. This was pre-COVID. Finally got a conversation with her, sat down and talked about future of FM and, what facility management as a career path looked like. And she got us a good introduction to workforce development. And so we got in talking to like their youth program group, their projects group, and they built a cohort for us. They found money and helped us. All we needed was an instructor. Oh, hello. Hello, Carolyn. How are you doing? And we taught a little pilot program and got, it sounds small, but we got, I think 6 students through it. 6 of them graduated. We had 8 total that started the program, and 6 graduated, and they got their Essentials of FM certificate. That was workforce development. Looks a lot at the quick wins. So the things you could do right now to start getting people at least some basic ideas of what facility management is, and then they helped us help those students find roles in facility management if they were still like super excited about it. Because workforce development, their main goal is to get people jobs. So why not help them get people jobs in FM?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah,
I know it sounds wild, but it worked. And then through a series of conversations, and I can't even tell you if it was because they knew that I was doing all of this stuff, right? That I was super passionate about the future of FM stuff. Somebody had reached out to me with an introduction to somebody in Hot Bread Kitchen in New York. It's a program helping like immigrants and low-income folks that don't even speak English super well, helping them get jobs, get good careers, get on their feet. Hot Bread Kitchen originally was mainly towards getting them into say baking or that sort of thing, right? That they wanted to expand, and they were looking at facility management. So how does this work? I connected them to this same program that I did, which was through the foundation, the IFMA Foundation, and they just did their own cohort. So that's going to get talked about soon. California's done it. So these are things where it might be like a 6-week, or it could be as short as 6 weeks. I think mine was 15 weeks, and these students get into the workforce then. They get some education, they get exposed to what facility management might look like for them, and then we get them, jobs.
It's like a little boot camp where you see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see that in technology quite a bit of boot camps popping up where you have that, 6 to 12 week, very intense, education where you're getting exposed, and then you go out and you find your entry level job and then you work your way up.
Yeah. So that's one way that's starting to take off. Another way is through our nonprofit. So our nonprofit FM Pipeline, which is I'm a co-director with Jim Zerbel. You might hear from on another podcast.
You're spoiling the surprise for the next episode.
Jim founded FM Pipeline team with a bunch of really excited, mostly IFMA members, right? Really excited about future of FM folks who realized, they'd tried the college approach, they'd tried career fair approach. It's hard in like just a 20-minute, career fair talk to get students really understanding what facility management might look like, might feel like. You can hear words when somebody talks, but it really doesn't tell you a good story. Mm-hmm. So he stumbled into Skills USA, which is a career technical student organization. And these students, it's kind of like a FFA or a FBLA. They're a little jacket wearing organization. And these students are super smart, super excited. Some of them wouldn't have this opportunity anywhere else except when they're at school, and they're learning things, some of the basic things like they have estheticians and baking. So this is a place where food and hair can mix, but also like architecture and engineering. They have plumbers, HVAC techs. They teach people electrical, right? They have all these different career paths that line up with our industry. And so we stumbled into this thing where every year each state has their own competitions. And he's like, well, what if we made a competition for facility management that allowed the student to kind of like go through some different questions, multiple choice questions, and then like a little role play scenario and a little emergency challenge to get them thinking like a facility manager. And if they get excited about it, then maybe they'd pursue that as a career path. And we've been doing it for a few years now. And COVID, we expanded into online. I won't spoil too much. I know Jim will talk a lot about it. But one of the gaps we saw, the IFMA Foundation, and like I said, I'm not a representative of them, but they've been focused a lot on the degree programs, getting those degree programs rolling, getting them accredited, so that they had a lot of, good respect behind those. But the challenge that a lot of folks have, especially starting them up, right, is getting that pipeline of students in, getting students super interested in it and pursuing those programs. So that was the intent, the gap we're trying to close with FM Pipeline, is get them interested, then give them scholarships to take college classes related to FM. Addressing
the chicken and egg that you alluded to earlier, of now we're building up a pipeline of FMs, hence the name, and and hopefully that will have a trickle down effect of having more and more programs being standardized, putting a bow on all this. Standardizing programs across the country, allowing people that are interested to pursue it in higher education and replenish the talent that we are going to be losing here over the next few years.
Absolutely.
And so, go ahead.
I won't spoil it, but keep an eye out for the foundation and their talks about an apprenticeship program.
That's exciting. And that's the theme that we keep coming across here on the show, is just looking at the future of facilities management. Everything, all these different programs popping up, everyone being on the same page. And I haven't seen this in any other industry of people arm in arm, trying to raise the industry and raise awareness about what facilities management is, because that need is certainly there. And so that has been something that getting into the industry has been very unique from my standpoint. Is here is the goal, and everybody working together and getting creative. And as we said earlier, facilities managers are some of the most creative individuals out there. And when you have a whole country of innovative, creative thinkers that have the same mission, then some cool things happen. And I'm looking forward to seeing where that really goes.
A whole world of them, actually.
A whole world of them. Yeah, exactly.
World of them. Best innovation I had for online classes was this last semester. I had a gentleman from India talk to my class. I had a gentleman from Dubai talk to my class. A couple from Canada, from all over the US, but then also, out into the world, so that they got more of a global perspective of what facility management would be.
Yeah, and shame on me, because I've talked to a couple of folks from the UK and Canada. So
there you go.
So
you've been schooled.
Exactly. So wrapping it up, and one last question I've got surrounding your journey and getting into it. What's one piece of advice you would give someone that's interested? And I know it's a tough question, because I'm sure there's more than one piece of advice you can give out there, but your absolute go-to, what is the number one thing people should do if they're just interested in facilities management?
Oh boy.
If you want me to keep rambling for a few more moments and give you a couple seconds to think about it, I could talk about anything, but
I could probably ramble, and then I could find the nugget after I ramble for a little bit.
Well, now it's on you. Spotlight is on you.
So for somebody not in facility management yet, but wants to learn more.
Correct.
Oh goodness, there's a few different ways, but really just Google it. Is what a lot of the youth today do, right? And they're going to find a few things. They might find whatisfm.com, which the foundation, created, and they're working on continuing to update that. But it's, the basics of what facility management is, what types of subjects it covers, what kind of career paths it might get them into. I think it rolls over to the job posting board so they can see what kind of jobs there are. Our fmpipeline.org has some different things that talk about facility management. I don't want to spoil Jim's talk too much, but in case he doesn't cover it, very soon, and this goes back to Googling it, we're going to YouTube, right? We're going to start a little video series to talk about what facility management is. So little 10-minute teasers, essentially, of what is facility management? Why is facility management of value to any organization ever? And then what are the different things that facility managers might know? So things like, technology. We talk about technology for like 10 minutes. How about operations and maintenance? Talk about O&M for 10 minutes, or risk, or innovation, all these different pieces that students who are maybe interested, want to hear a little bit more, can hear about it, or then teachers could use in their classes to give short bursts of information to students.
So what you're telling me is there is really an endless amount of resources out there to at least get you introduced, and it's only becoming more and more popular. To your point, having the YouTube channel coming up pretty shortly, but really immersing yourself in what it is, and kind of taking the initiative there on learning what a facilities manager, as best as you can describe it, what exactly that day in and day out looks like.
Yep, because no day's ever the same.
Yep. So, Carolyn, last question, and I ask this to everybody. Who or what has had the biggest impact on your career?
Well, I'm glad you said "or what," because I don't know if I have a specific who, but I would say the biggest constant for my entire career since college has been IFMA. Might sound a little cheesy, I know, but I've been a member of IFMA, like I said, since 2004. So for somebody my age, I'm still a millennial. I'm on the far end, right? To have been in IFMA pretty much half of my lifetime means that facility management and that organization has kind of been my family for longer than say I've known my husband. Which can be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say that the networking I've had with it, I think it had a really big impact on me, especially early on. Like I said, I got coerced into being president, and then I went to my first world workplace, and pretty much everybody just adopted me.
Yeah.
I have even people when I graduated and moved to the Denver chapter, I got adopted right away, and everybody wanted to see me succeed. I don't know of any other associations really that I've been in, or that I can think of that adopt you so quickly and are just like, we want you to succeed 100%. Come with me.
Right.
And help to make that easier.
And with your answer of IFMA, I mean, you did kind of address the who as well. It's just not one individual person. It's just, the group of people that you've met over time through the organization. So, I mean, getting involved in any one of the organizations you're involved with is something that, I would highly recommend just from a networking perspective. But to your point, it is a family, and people want to see you succeed. They want to lift up the industry as a whole. And so just getting involved, taking that step to get involved.
Yep. Take that step to get involved, join an association. I told my students that I think 4 times over the course of the semester, at least 4. And a couple of my guest speakers touched on it too, was, I'm really excited to be a member of the association, and the networking and the access to training and that sort of thing that I had was just invaluable. Mm-hmm. And then don't be a mailbox member, be involved.
Yeah.
Because you never know who you're going to run into.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how you and I actually connected. Well, Carolyn, thank you so much for joining today. It's been great hearing your perspective and your journey getting into facilities management. Where can people find you and reach out to you?
A few different ways. I'm definitely active on LinkedIn. So look up WonderWoman McGary, I think is my actual LinkedIn title now, or just Carolyn McGary. If you find the one with all the Wonder Woman stuff, you've made it.
That's you? Okay.
That's probably the easiest way. I'm also on IFMA's Engage, and some other places, but
very cool.
I do pay attention.
Well, thank you once again for coming on. It's been a pleasure catching up, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Modern Facilities Management Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to future episodes and visit our website, stratumcommunity.com, for more facilities management content.